Ready to start your journey? Whether it's your first workout or you are a seasoned athlete, Endurance for Everyone Coaching wants to work with you. Our coaching team has worked with athletes from beginners to USAT national qualifiers and are comprised of experienced runners, cyclists, and triathletes who have a passion for healthy living and have been where you are. We offer comprehensive coaching programs from weekly support to basic consultation, all designed to help you achieve your goals. If you want to take your performance to the next level, look no further than Endurance for Everyone Coaching. Go to www.teamE4E.com and click on the coaching link or send an email to teamE4E@enduranceforeveryone.com. And let's get started.
Welcome to this week's Endurance for Everyone podcast.
The following program is for entertainment purposes only. Though the hosts of this show are certified Ironman coaches, their attempts at long-course triathlons and endurance events should not be taken as an endorsement for you to do something stupid too. You should make your own bad decisions, then podcast about it. Now, let's start the show.
Hey, this is John Harris.
And this is Rob Bozovich.
And Endurance is for Everyone, and this is the Endurance for Everyone podcast. Episode 121 of the Endurance for Everyone podcast is on the air. I am John in Tampa, and up there in Pennsylvania is my good buddy Rob. How you doing?
Fantastic.
So
I say fantastic as you can be, and people will catch it in a little bit here. We're recording this one a little in advance when we send it out. I actually cut my run short a little bit so I can get in here with you. But, you know, it was 84 and I got sunburn over the weekend while out for my run. And today was 36 and sleet.
That's crazy.
I can't win, man.
I am telling you, man. I was chatting a little bit with Jody Ross up there in Minnesota, and she was showing her whole car is covered in snow.
Yeah, we have it nowhere near as bad as some parts of the country. I didn't have to get the shovel out, but it's just like, just make up your mind.
Well, and everybody here is complaining today because it only got up to 65 today.
Oh,
but tomorrow, I know, right? Exactly. But I take a picture, it's totally blue sky, not a cloud in the sky, beautiful weather. But it's 65, So, see, by the time this posts, 80, 90 degree weather is going to be the norm.
Yeah, people are like, when did they record this,
Yeah.
No, not that far.
We're recording this in April. So, this is actually, we're recording it pre-race for both of us, but actually by the time it posts, we'll both be done with our races. So
yes, sir.
We'll try not to give anybody like time travel sickness here.
Yeah. No continuity errors.
Right. And no continuity errors. Well, what we want to talk a little bit on this show, something that's come up in different ways over the past week or so, is the subject of bravery.
John, I'm the math scholar, but I think that's pronounced bravery.
I got to change all my damn notes now. Hold on. All right.
Just Control F, replace all.
I'm gonna have to wing it now because I had it all like, okay, bravery. Okay, I got it. I can do this. I can do this off the cuff. I'm telling you.
Excellent.
So, should I tell you how this kind of came about?
Please do.
I'll tell you a story. As you know, I've been training for St. Anthony's at this time. At the point this post, that'll be done. But it came up that, and we have our own little groups on Facebook and things like that. And it came up during one of the normal postings is that I just put it out there that I'm going to be traveling to the race venue. I'm going to go check out the water at the race venue. If anybody wants to come with me, I'll be down there about 9:00. Well, that is such an innocent comment to me to say.
I would agree.
Yeah. That resulted in a conversation that went on for hours, specifically around the fact that one person had an issue. Well, more than one person, but basically one person had an issue with going to the race venue before the race, and that it caused them more anxiety to see the race venue.
So because they had a problem with it, you're not allowed to do it?
Yeah, that's what it comes down to. And I've had this issue, and you know that I love Team and Training. They do a great job. I love their races. I've run into this with them before, where I've put out there, if anybody wants to come ride in the hills, we'll be out in the hills, and they just freak out because there's no Team and Training coach with us. Well, it wasn't a Team and Training event. I'm telling you, I'm going to be out there. If you want to come on out there, come on out. So
John, you're such a rebel doing all this unsanctioned stuff.
I'm telling you. So because now I've been doing this for 6 years, and now because I'm involved with Team and Training for this race, I can't go out there and ask people to come with me unless I have a Team and Training coach with me.
I guess you're gonna have to do it in secret. Like you're gonna have to wear like a ninja, dress all in black.
Well, at some point is that, and I'm gonna tell you, and it got frustrating to me because, we've both been doing this a long time. There is not one training book, not one training class that I know of. Now, if I'm wrong, somebody please correct me. There's nothing that I know of that I've ever come across that tells you to not visit the race venue if you have the ability to do so.
I would go as far as to say that I don't want to say 100%, but I would say almost with every book that or resource, video, anything that I've ever read, listened to, or watched has always said the best thing you could do would be to get out and it's not just like if you go to Colorado to get to altitude or but it's get to the race venue so you can see it. If you have the opportunity, if you live close enough to go train on parchment, and they're not saying do the entire race course every single week, right? But they're saying get your familiarity with it, just so if it's a bike ride or a triathlon, because you have the bike portion, so the turns, when you're expecting to come out of the saddle, when to brake, if you can picture where the water slips. Today, okay. Well, so today's example, we're recording it Boston Monday, Marathon Monday. Mm-hmm. How many groups train and go to Boston? And I believe, I haven't been there. Maybe we can ask Peter and Brian from How's Your Run Today, but I think they actually set up some of the water stations and actually exactly as the race course is going to be. So people know what it is. That is the number one thing everybody, I believe, has ever said, if you can do it.
Well, I think I'd like to think it came down to just people being wary of the swim and the safety issue and things like that. And I get that, I guess, to a point.
It's funny you say that because the smart aleck response that I want to say right here, and I think you probably have seen it. Have you seen the episode of Big Bang where I forget what it is, but Sheldon's like, I can YouTube it. It's when he's learning to drive, I think.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And his response that they said I think Leonard says, well, you learned to swim. And he's like, oh yeah, but you never got wet. He's like, the principles are still the same or something like that. Yeah.
The principles are the same, right? Yeah, and then when he finally got behind a car, he saw what happened. But I guess I kind of get that to a point. You know what? It's kind of like a doctor. The doctor's always going to err on the side of caution. When you become a member of a Team and Training group, they're always concerned that they're going to be held liable for something. But you know what? I can go to the beach any day. Just people hanging out on the beach is not going to make Team and Training liable. Unless I tell you it's a Team and Training event, which I didn't do.
Now, I'm going to say one thing, and then I'm going to contradict myself in 15 seconds, okay?
I do that all the time, so.
Yeah. Well, side topic too. I was talking with Pete today, and he had made a comment, and I had said something like, does that make you want to do a triathlon? And he basically had said the water would be his big issue, the swimming portion,
Everybody says that, right?
And we were back and forth, not in a bad way, but just chatting. And I had said, it's never been an issue for me. And to me, water's water. Now, here's where I would contradict that. Okay, it being in a perfectly clear pool where I can see and touch the bottom is different than being in a lake where I can't see the bottom. Is different than where there's algae. Is different than ocean water, just because of the salinity, the waves, and so forth. So I implicitly acknowledge that, but. When I say water's water, if you're going to be doing something in Daytona Beach swimming, beach is fairly similar to beach, unless you're in a cove or if it's but you're going to have waves, you're going to have water, salinity, you're going to have undertow, whatever. But, you got water, sand, and sky. So if you're going to train at Daytona, you can probably swim at Ormond the same as you can at Miami, or whether you go all the way up to Virginia Beach. It's if you're doing an ocean race, you should probably try to swim in an ocean. Mm-hmm. If you're doing a lake race, you should probably try to swim in a lake, pool. But ultimately, water's water. You need to swim to build your endurance. A pool is going to be different. You're going to, than the open water. And the number one thing that freaks people out is getting into somewhere where they can't touch, they can't see, and there's people swimming all around them. So why would you not do what you can do to get in there, emulate that race situation? Get in the water, even if it's not at the venue, get in something as close as possible. But if you have the venue available, that's like the best for you.
Man, you touched on something there that I'm going to bring up in a few minutes.
I'll see how wrong I was. Go ahead, John.
No, I'm not to that point yet, but you touched on something. I'll say it this way: you have a very strong professor brain.
Okay,
and that'll make more sense in a few minutes. But
explains the class.
Your professor, your professor brain is strong, and but again, going back to the team and training thing, one more thing is that I trained for years. After about 2014, all my training was with a different group. Was the Central Florida group. Mm-hmm. North and Central Florida. So I didn't really do any triathlons, but I did a lot of cycling. So I did Fletcher Flyer, which was a metric century, and I did Lake Tahoe. But I was doing it with the Central Florida group, not the Suncoast group. Mm-hmm. And this shows you the differences in mentality. The group I did in Central Florida we'll use Lake Tahoe as an example. In Orlando, of course, Claremont, that's where Sugarloaf Mountain is. And I've talked about Sugarloaf Mountain on here before. This is the highest peak in Florida. It's only like 380 feet. But if you do loops, you can get to 3,000 feet of climbing in there for one ride. You just do loops, right? So you're going up that 300, and it's the way to do it. When I was training for Tahoe, we did that all the time. There was not a ride that we didn't have at least 1,800 feet and usually over 2,000 feet of climbing in it in Florida. Go to
Sorry, I don't want to interrupt your flow, John. I'm chuckling in my head because it just made me think of the little episode we just put out last week. This be a month ago at this point. My little solo one, the one hill in Pittsburgh that we have to run up halfway through the race. By the way, before we get into the hilly part, is 200 feet. So 2/3 of your Florida elevation, what I'm going to do in one hill. Anyways,
no, I know. And we understand that. But there's ways. I think my point is there's ways to get the hill training in.
Yes.
There is. There are places in Florida you can climb.
Yep. I joke, but seriously too, and that is like legitimately what I've seen, because like you'll be reading anything. This isn't like I'm reading Florida specific training, but it actually references Florida, and it says if you're in a flat place like Florida or the Great Plains where you can't find good hills or a solid like they recommend like find that one hill and continue to do it. But if you don't live close enough, go bridge overpasses or parking garages.
Yeah, and that's what and this is what I was going to get to, I guess, is that the team that I'm with now is the Suncoast team, which is more of the Tampa, Clearwater, St. Pete area. They did the race. I want to say it was the year after I did, or maybe 2 years after I did. And this just came out in a conversation after all this happened with this swimming. And we were sitting at dinner after a swim training a couple weeks ago, and it came up. And the subject of Lake Tahoe came up, and they did Lake Tahoe. They never went to the hills. They never trained on hills, and then went and tried to do Lake Tahoe.
Now, can I ask, did they do, and I'm using air quotes, elevation training? Did they do bridges and so forth? Or was it literally all like as flat as possible? What did they do? Well,
they did some overpasses, but I'm telling you that their normal ride was maybe not even 1,000 feet of climbing.
And for a piece of I don't want to say clarification, I always talk about rollers, and to me, and if you live in an area with rollers, to me, when I'm on a bike, anything I can be up and over within a minute, I consider a roller. Even if, and that's just kind of like where I'm at with it. So if you're planning to go to Tahoe and you've never done, I would consider an overpass a roller because,
and that's what it is.
Yeah.
So
but if it's all you have the availability, it's better than nothing.
Well, right. And we got on the subject. We got on the subject of it, and she had mentioned that even the people who can ride, who are like really good triathletes, were walking up some of those hills. Well, yeah, because they didn't do any hill training.
Right.
So they were telling me about some of the riders that I know well were walking up hills that I got up. Mm-hmm. Okay, so that's the difference. But then, and this is go back to a coaching philosophy. The coach I had, Jay, in Orlando, when we went to Tahoe the day before the ride, we went up the first switchbacks. We went up the day before.
Yeah.
And I said, well, he took us up the day before up those switchbacks. And so the next day we knew we knew what to expect. And the comment was, God, if I'd seen those switchbacks the day before, I never would have done the ride.
Yeah.
It's like, really? That just, that kind of, I guess, that kind of thinking is even to me, that's a little weird, but well, to each his own, but everybody has their own demons, and everybody has their own issues.
Not the most appropriate story in a little parable, and I'll try to make it short here. Okay. And I'll ask you, do you know how to cook a ham, John?
I do.
Okay. Well, I heard this great little story about cooking a ham. Young husband and wife goes to cook a ham. First thing she does is takes the ham, cuts off the right side, cuts off the left side. She puts the glaze on, puts it in the oven. She throws those two pieces in the trash. Husband says, we're kind of like on a budget here. Like, why the heck did you throw those ends away? She's like, that's how you cook a ham. So my mom always did. That's how she taught me. So next time he's around the mom, he says, well, what's this deal with, how you prep the ham and you cut the ends off? And she's like, well, that's why my mom always did it. Your wife's grandmother did it. So then he goes and next time he's at the next family function, asks grandmother and says, hey, like, why did you, when you prep a ham, why do you cut the ends off? That's good meat. Mm-hmm. She said, well, it's simple. The first oven we had, the ham wouldn't fit in it. So we had to cut the right side off, had to cut the left side off, and then you put it in the oven.
Right. No real reason for it other than that.
So,
it's that's just good. I like that.
It's just got to think of it. It's just because that's what's in your head or what you think. Doesn't make it right. I'm not saying it makes it wrong either. You know what I mean? Like to some people, truly, if water is the biggest absolute fear, you can't get in it, you don't want to see it, and that, and that's, and I don't want to say this, it's sounding negative. If that's your deficiency, you know what I mean? If I see that water, I'm going to freak out. Then by all means, don't go near it. Mm-hmm. But the fact of the matter is, don't try to prohibit other people. At least put the disclaimer out there like, hey, I don't like to go to the venue because of this, but you might want to.
Right. And I think that was the issue I had with it, is that it's fine if you have that issue. I get it, because damn well I have that with water. Mm-hmm. But don't make other people scared of it because you are.
Right.
Even though I have the issue, you won't hear me saying it to the people on my team. Or I'll try to say, no, I think you need to do this. Like we were out in, our open water. I did great, by the way.
Congratulations.
Like I said, this is after the race, so we'll see how that pans out. But it was on the inlet at Sand Key out in Clearwater. And I was telling them, it's like the water you're going to be in St. Pete is just like this. So I was trying to get that into their head. What you just did, if you did this, you can do the race. Mm-hmm. Because it's on especially the sprint version, because you're not getting out into the bay. It's a covered portion. You're not going to have a lot of waves. It's not that deep, things like that, so get into your head. This is nothing. But then it goes into another thing I was saying. So I was commenting on getting to the bravery stuff, and the definition of bravery is, and we've talked about this before, is if you're not scared of water, like you said, you've never had an issue with water.
Yeah.
You're not scared of it. It doesn't give you anxiety. It's not, and take this as I mean it. Okay. Don't take it the wrong way, but it's not brave to do something you're not scared of.
No.
Bravery. Correct. Right. Bravery is doing something you're scared the hell out of and still
you do it anyways.
And going and doing it anyway. That's bravery.
That is getting on the roof of my house.
Right.
When I say this is stupid, put me on the roof of a 20-story skyscraper, I'm fine. You put me on an airplane, I'm fine. I cannot go like 20, 30 feet in the air. I am freaked out. And really, at the end, people are like, why? And I said, maybe in the back of my brain, it just comes down to, if I'm 18 stories up, 20 stories up, and I fall, I ain't going to feel it for long. But I'm pretty sure I'm going to survive a 2-story fall, and it's going to hurt.
Yeah. I was going to say that in another way is like the chances of you falling 20 stories or from a plane is a lot less than you falling off your roof.
Yeah.
You could fall off your roof.
Oh, yeah.
So, so I kind of get that too. Well, I mentioned just an offhand comment in the group, I think you probably saw it, is that I can't believe I still have this anxiety over open water after all these years. Why do I still have this anxiety? I know I can do it. So, Beth Shaw, she's a master swims coach here. She's been around this area for a long time. I've known her for years. She saw that and she goes, John, have you ever read the book, A Brave Athlete? There's another part of the book, but another part of the title I won't say.
Where does the beep go, John?
Yeah, where does the beep go? It's how to call them the F down. Right?
Got it.
Okay, so that gets so I look at it and I see it's called The Brave Athlete. It's by Dr. Simon Marshall and Leslie Patterson. Now, if you don't know, I've posted Leslie Patterson videos before and did not make the connection until today, who that was.
Gotcha.
But if you've seen, I know I've posted in the group, it's called shit. I'll just say it. Shit triathletes don't say. And it's hilarious. That's Leslie Patterson. Well, her husband is Dr. Simon Marshall, who's a sports psychologist. So okay, I'll look at it. And so I get the book, and I start reading it, and it started speaking to me. And this is where the professor brain comes into it. So a lot of things I'm going to say are in the book. I highly recommend this book. I'm not through all of it yet, but I'm about a third, maybe halfway through it. It's very, very good. And especially if you have anxiety issues, not just with triathlon, but with anything. I think it really speaks and really helps you understand what's going on, and how to work through this stuff.
Yeah.
So it goes from the premise that, basically what you just heard me say, I have these feelings and I don't want these feelings. I don't understand this. Why do I have this issue? And it comes down to the premise is that everybody has 3 brains. Okay. They have the chimp brain, which is your most primitive brain, fight or flight. You're going to die. This is going to kill you. Get the hell out of here. Right.
That's why I won't get on a ladder. It'll kill me.
Right. Exactly. Then you have the modern professor brain, which is kind of how you get through the day, how you make your everyday decisions. It's kind of like your logic, and then you have the computer brain, which is constantly trying to bring up past images to help you get through something. Okay. So the thing is, when you're going in the brain, you're going in the water, and the way they describe it is like you're sitting in the water before a triathlon and you're looking at the water and you're saying, holy crap, I'm going to drown. Get the hell out of here. What the hell are you thinking? And your computer brain and your professor brain is saying, you've done this swim 1,000,000 times. There's no problem. Right?
Mm-hmm.
You've done it 1,000,000 times. And your computer brain is trying to bring up images of you doing this swim, of you doing this, and to convince you that you can do it. But the problem is that the chimp is a very strong little fuck, and he will beat you. Right? A chimp is strong.
How many of those F-bombs do we get before we got to put an E on this, John?
I don't know. But see, this is what Vinny does. This is his influence. I'm going to blame it on Vinny. So, but the thing is, the chimp is strong, and the chimp brain will overload the other 2 brains.
Mm-hmm.
So this is why you're saying, okay, I've done this 1,000,000 times, and this is what I do. I'm sitting, God, why am I so scared of this? I've done this race. I know I can do this swim. Why am I so scared? And your chimp brain's yelling at you, but you can drown, and your computer brain is trying to kind of get between them. But then your computer brain starts bringing out, well, last time it was 75 degrees and the water looked like that. And that little guy over there was in the race with you. You finished the worst you ever did. So now it's like pulling you to the dark side. So, I mean, this is like this race day, what they call race day paralyzation. and it's like you get crazy nervous before the race. You choke under pressure. You quit when the going gets too tough because you get scared of it. You make dumb mistakes. You keep your helmet on when you start to go out to the run. Things like that.
Simple things.
Yeah, things like that. But I like one thing they said. I haven't seen it in the book, but I saw it on a video on YouTube. She stated that sometimes we're held back by our own expectations. Like and I've seen you do this actually, not that you're held back, but you'll say this, you'll say, well, no, everybody does this, Rob. It's not, it's not you, but you'll say, well, if I don't finish well in this race, I feel like you've said it. I feel like I let you down or something like that. Or I didn't do this training run. I feel like I've let you down because I didn't do this run.
Are you reading my diary?
Yeah, exactly.
I'm literally posting that because I cut my run short today.
Yeah. See,
Anyways.
But you've said this to me, right?
Yeah.
And I said, no, but see, that's how it's your own unreasonable expectations of, it's like this, I want to call it like cognitive distortion, right? Or
Those are some fancy words.
Cognitive distortion. Yeah, that's the saying that's like, you're letting somebody down. No, really, nobody cares. Have I ever said, man?
So you don't care, John?
Well, I do care, but I'm just saying.
Nor for everyone coaching.
Well, but it goes along with cognitive distortion, saying, "Man, I trained and I didn't finish in the top 10. My coach sucks." But you don't realize that. Well, you didn't do you only did 60% of the training plan.
Yeah.
Right. That's cognitive distortion. That's like, okay, you're blaming somebody else for something when you did it. Well, maybe if you did 100%, it wouldn't have happened. Not saying it would have, but you kind of distort it. It's like this is something I do. I eat and exercise and I still gain weight. But you forget about the pint of ice cream that you ate 2 days ago. You kind of forgot about that.
Half a cake. Yeah. All that
stuff like that. Right. So it's that, the distortion that kind of creeps in, that you start believing that you're unworthy, but you really are. If you do, and I will say this, and I know you agree with this, if you do any kind of sporting event, if you race, if you train, you don't even have to race. If you train for athletic events and or race, you're an athlete.
Yeah.
Stop questioning whether you're an athlete or not. You are an athlete.
Yes.
And it doesn't matter how much you weigh, and it doesn't matter that you're last. I said it on the group the other day. If it wasn't for us in the middle and the back of the pack, there would be no racing, because we're
Correct.
the ones paying for these races.
Yep.
I said it to somebody today whose husband was in the Boston Marathon, and he was upset because he's got a little bit of a hamstring issue and he's not doing as well. It's like, so, who cares? You're out there running Boston, for God's sakes.
Right.
It's something I may never do. So,
I remember when I was first starting my marathon training for the very first marathon, you start getting sucked in and thinking like you're the greatest thing in the world. And I printed off a list of all 50 states because I'm like, I'm going to do that,
Yeah.
And of course, what do you put for Massachusetts? Boston. Question mark.
Yeah.
So in my ideal world, John, what I will do is I will do 48 marathons. I will then qualify and go to Kona for number 49, in which case I will BQ and finish with Boston. There's some goals.
That's a goal. That's your athletic identity, right? Yeah. So you have a very strong athletic identity. Do you personally, I'm asking you personally, do you have any issue calling yourself an athlete or a runner? Or see, you don't have that.
I did early on.
Yeah.
And that being said and when I say it this way, it's partially getting over my own crap, and it's partially then seeing how people see me, okay, and so forth. And that all comes with a couple of examples of I was on a run streak, but that was 4 or 5 years ago at this point, okay? But I still get from my father-in-law, hey, you still running every day? And for a while I explained, oh yes, and then it was oh no, and then it's now I'm just pretty much with the Hanson's plan. It is 6 out of 7 days, so pretty much I just answer like yeah, I do a little something every day,
Yeah.
And the same deal is I get calls from people asking me or texts or whatever, asking me questions. So I realized that people are identifying me that way, and it's part, getting over my own crap that, like I said, I always say, when I first started training, I was, buying blacks and blues, and I just wanted to blend in, and I didn't, a car would come, I'd stop running, kind of walk, put my head down. I didn't want people knowing, who I was or what was going on. Now it's, biggest, brightest, neon yellow and orange. And it's not so much like, hey, look at me, but it's more like, if I get run over, I don't want to have any reason that they said they couldn't see me, and I don't care. I don't care if I look silly or like a huge pumpkin. This is who I am. I'm out doing it, is what it is. Deal with it.
Yeah, and she talks about on again, I haven't seen it in the book yet, but I know on the video she talks about it. And one of their things is you develop an alter ego. That is your race ego. That it's your race ego. If you have an issue with it, find people that you really look up to, strong athletes. She made the joke like, politicians, and her husband says you have someone a politician you look up to, but find someone you like, find little pieces, and you make them your own alter ego. She makes the comment, says she's this nice person, but there's a race ego called Patty McPherson or something like that, and he's a dude, and when Patty comes out, it's like the hoodie comes on, the earplugs go in. She doesn't look at any other competitors. She walks with her chest out, tall, and she becomes this alter ego.
I forget what the TV show or movie it was, but the guy was saying something very similar, and he said, like, hat forward, and then he turns around. He said, "This is the switch," and he turns the hat around. You know what I mean? He said, "There it is."
There it is. Right. But how many people do that on social media? When you meet them in person, they're nothing like they are online, right? I've told you about this with, Kate, meeting me 8 years ago, said, "Oh, I thought you were going to be an asshole."
Yeah, because
the way I talk online sometimes, it's like, no, but so that's like this alter ego that comes out. Alice Cooper is a good example of that. We talked about Alice Cooper with Vinny a little bit, but he's like one of the nicest guys in the world. And he makes a direct cutoff of Alice Cooper is not who he is. Vincent Furnier is a very different person than Alice Cooper. Even though he goes by Alice Cooper both ways now. Vincent Furnier is a very religious person. He plays golf. Alice Cooper is Alice Cooper. And there's a distinction. So one of her ways to get through this kind of craziness is to do that, create an alter ego and become the other person. Just race day, you're another person. Kiss is another example. My band Kiss, they talk about that. I haven't
heard of them. Are they new?
Yeah, they're a new band. Just came out, but I've heard good things. And they used to talk about that a lot. The demon is the demon. That's why they put the makeup on. What they are like with makeup off is totally different. Not so much in Gene Simmons' case, but for the most part, those characters are characters. That's not who they are. So it's a way of turning like I don't want to say meek, but I want to say like a calm person who's worried about getting swum over and things like that into something totally different on race day. And it takes work. It does take work, and it takes. I love what they said. Is like she tells him. She goes, you don't come at me with when they first met. Don't come at me with that visualization, imagining Kenny G music bullshit, because it doesn't work. Okay, and I agree with her. I've always said that visualization does not work for me, but because that chimp mind just comes up. I will not remember good things. I will remember all the bad. I will remember the Frenchman trying to drown me in Ironman, Florida. Yeah, I will remember all of it, and I will look for a guy that looks like that Frenchman, and I will try to stay away from him because that's how I think. So it was kind of. I know it's kind of interesting to me. She said to do other things that I've actually done in the past. It's like find mantras and write them on your forearms before the race. And there's actually a picture on Facebook of Jennifer and I before St. Anthony's back in 2013, I guess, where I had written "Embrace the Suck" on my forearm, just so I could remember it.
Yeah. I can't say I've ever taken it to that extent.
Well, I mean, if it works, it's a I guess
Personal
a
thing.
Yeah, finding something that works for you.
Yep.
She also said something else I thought was kind of funny is that triathletes have a very, very bad habit of getting a case of the Justas.
They repeat that?
A case of the Justas.
Okay.
And you'll say, well, it's like getting a case of the Justas is like saying, well, it's just a 5K. It's just a sprint triathlon.
Got it.
You know what I mean? But every race is a race, and you know this, and most people who have raced know that every race is different. You can have a half marathon that could be the easiest race in the world and do a 5K and just suck the whole time. People who ran Boston today can probably attest to that because, raining, cold, windy, just sucky day, but they're still out there doing it, So it's not just another Boston. It's not just a marathon, but with the way she was saying with triathletes had this, and we've joked about this before, is like, they'll say, oh, I ran a marathon. And our answer is, oh yeah. How long was the bike before that?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a douchey thing to say, but but triathletes are known to say that. How long was your bike before that?
And I don't want to cut you off. I have a question on this. This is something I've been thinking of a lot lately. Sorry, way digression. Okay.
Go ahead.
I've ran several marathons. I should say I've completed some, and I distinguish between them because, and it's all self definitions, I guess. Okay. So Pittsburgh PR previous, maybe at this point it'll be a new one when we release this, but anyways, previous 401 and change, just under 402. I've had 430s, I've had 5.5. Okay. Now I struggled on some of those. Like I said, I'll use Nashville as the best example. I was on a decent pace. It was too humid. I was sweating profusely. Halfway through, I knew I was done racing. I was now there to just complete it. Okay. So I don't want to say I'm not degrading and saying I didn't do it. People say, how many marathons have you run? I include that in my tally because I completed it. Okay. As I've been out doing some of my training lately, I've been doing like a little walk break here or there, and I'm just curious to see where my walk break pace is. I can walk about a 14-minute mile. Power, keeping the speed going. Okay. Average. I can walk, I'm using air quotes, all the way down to 12, all the way up to 16. I can average at 14. I've tinkered the idea of going out, maybe seeing if I can get my wife or somebody, to see if they want to go out and walk a marathon. Would I, or should I, now this is personal, what I want to do or not, would or should I include that in my 50 states if I was to complete it?
Yeah, I would.
Okay.
That's that.
I know some people that wouldn't. You know what I mean? I'm asking what your opinion is on that one because, just because, and I should say it this way, and it kind of ties around to another topic if we were going to talk about getting to it. The race rules would say you have X amount of time to complete this to be a finisher and so forth, right? And if I can walk it and complete it in their time frame, I've completed the race as they've laid out by the rules, Right. So, that being said, like but then again, it's personal belief. The guy that finishes the Ironman in, 17 hours and 1 second, I still think he completed it, but
that's the way I look at it too. Now in Ironman Chronicles, he didn't, but to me, that'd be the same as like going out and running 30 miles and, for a training day, going out and running 30 miles and someone saying, well, you didn't run an ultra because you didn't do it as part of a race.
So you would count a 30-mile training run as an ultra? I
would. Personally, I would. Yeah. I would say I've done it.
See, I would personally throw an asterisk next to it.
Right.
I rode, somebody says to me, and when I talk about my long bike ride, my century, you know what I mean? I like to say I did a self-century because whenever you say I did a century, typically that same deal. I did a marathon. Oh, which one did you do? I just went out and ran it. Okay. So you did it. A self one. I'm not taking away from the distance or the accomplishment of it, but you did a self-supported, type of deal.
Yeah.
And that's where I would put the asterisk next to it. But that's just, once again, personal belief.
Well, right. Well, we had Megan Fanning doing the 10 marathons in 10 days that she was raising money for.
Mm-hmm.
Did she not do 10 marathons because they weren't really races? No, she did. That's the way I look at that. And
I couldn't do what she did, and I don't want it to sound diminishing by saying, I do think, and it comes down to what vernacular or you're used to hearing, I guess. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. When I hear 10 marathons, 10 days, and so forth, I think sanctioned. Okay. And I'm not saying she duped anyone. Like you said, she's raising money and so forth. You know what I mean? But some people, like if you say I'm raising money for you're raising money for St. Anthony's as an example, right? Okay. You're raising money to do this and it's tied to it, but it's not like she's saying I'm raising money for these races and then just says, well, I didn't do it, but I went out and did it on my own. You know what I mean? She set those expectations up front.
Well, I guess then it goes to the Iron Cowboy type thing, 50 Ironman distance races in 50 states in 50 days. Yeah. Or were they really? Because that argument came out was because there were a few instances where weather took him inside. Mm-hmm. So he had to ride 112 miles on a stationary bike, which sounds like hell to me.
Torture.
But, it's bad enough having to do, I did 10 miles on a treadmill yesterday. I thought I was going to shoot myself. I just hate it. And people were arguing. It's like, well, does it count? He did it on a spin bike.
So I wouldn't have as much problem with the spin bike as I had heard a couple, maybe one or two of the days he did an equivalent on an elliptical. I would still think for the spirit of it, it should be a treadmill. Well, yeah. And that being said too is, when it comes down to what did he say? Did he say I'm doing 50 Ironman races, or did he say I'm doing 50 iron distance whatever? You know what I mean?
He said iron distance because it'd be hard to.
There you go. Yeah, so it doesn't matter if it's indoor or outdoor. You know what I mean? Right. But it's not. I did an Ironman race. Oh, what Ironman race did you do? Oh, it was a Rev 3. It's an iron distance, not an Ironman. And secondary, then it's. Oh, I did an Ironman. Oh, really? Which one? I just went out and did it on a Saturday. Okay, so I'm not taking away from it if you did it, but it's different than saying I did an Ironman race because then you didn't. Anyway, sorry.
Right. Okay. I have to share this because I don't know if anybody. I think I told you, but probably not everybody. I got rid of TV finally. I got rid of cable.
Yep.
So all I have here is streaming services. So I have Netflix and I have Prime, Amazon Prime. Mm-hmm. So the kind of like when you want to just relax and just watch TV, it's limited, right? So you start looking for old movies you haven't seen in a long time. It happened Saturday after the brick training. We did a full brick swim, bike, and run. I was just like laying around Saturday afternoon. And have you ever heard of the movie Meatballs?
I've heard of it. Yeah, I can't say I've watched it.
It's a 1979 Bill Murray, camp. It's very cheesy. Mm-hmm. It's not really. It's very disjointed. It's kind of like a bunch of skits rather than a movie.
Yep.
But in it, of course, you have the competition against the rival camp, and the nerdy kid. The nerdy kid is going to become the hero, right? And the event that he's going to become the hero, and this is how they say it in the movie, is the 4-mile marathon.
Yeah.
I was like, and it just, it goes right up your spine when you hear that. It's like, oh my God, the 4-mile, who's going to do the 4-mile marathon? It's like, okay. Obviously whoever wrote this movie is not a runner.
Nope.
And they show it because the way the kid is, it's Chris Makepeace. Old actor from back in the 80s. They show him kind of running with Bill Murray, which is funny in itself, Bill Murray running, but kind of trained. Bill Murray goes out for a run every morning, so he kind of sees it, and he doesn't have any friends, so he kind of joins them.
Yeah.
And it shows them like come up to the end, and they're like totally out of breath, and sweat's running them off them, and they just kind of fall onto the ground, and they ran a mile. It's like, really, man? Come on.
We've been there, John. We've all been there.
I know, but they were saying it's like he does this every day.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, it's just weird to me, but very, like I said, very cheesy movie. I know anybody my age has seen this movie. Trust me. This harkens back to the Weaver days, when we used to talk about old movies. But
I'll add it to my list.
It's very cheesy. Don't expect much. It actually got pretty good reviews. They called it Animal House in the Woods or something like that because it was in that time frame,
Yeah.
So there was like, I think I've hit everything I wanted to hit.
Me and you?
Yeah.
I got like 3 things that we didn't hit, John.
What? Tell me.
Remind me. I was just talking. And I thought you were going to come back to whenever I said it's within the spirit of the rules. I thought that was going to lead back to the one article that you had for us to discuss. And you were just talking about movies, and I thought we were going to talk about the movie you had me watch last night. Cross it off the list. Rob did his homework. Forget about it.
I missed the thing. We do need to talk about that. See, by the time this comes out, the article's been around for a while, but there was an article that came out about endurance athletes and the use of marijuana during training, during racing, and whether that, of course, in that now, for anybody that's really a stickler for the law, that's not a good thing, but is it good in Colorado because it's legal there. But the gist of the article was that why they use it. And so I guess it does link back to anxiety. It's that if you have race anxiety, let's preface this with saying that we do not advocate the use of marijuana before races or during races. So don't like go out there and say, well, the guys at teamE4E told us that smoking dope before a race is a good thing.
Relaxes you.
It relaxes you. It's the best thing to do before a swim. Get high. It was really centered around endurance running. And it was interesting to me that I looked at other articles too, because it was out there. I didn't even realize this was a thing about why they do it. And some use it for, it relaxes them. It's for anxiety. There's some articles that say that cannabis oil, which you can get, either way, cannabis oil is not going to give you the high, but it works that it's like it's a very good anti-inflammatory properties to it. So some racers will use it to combat that during a race. And then one person even said that one of their biggest issues with long course racing was that they'd forget to eat. So they would use this so that they would cause them to want to eat more during the race. Now, who knows, right? That could be a mental thing as well.
I interject. I call bullshit on that, John. Sorry, Mom, if you're listening for me swearing, but that's crap. Because if you forget to eat, set a timer on your watch. I mean,
exactly.
Just admit to what you want to do.
Well, I'm not sure if it's like that they forgot or is that they didn't want to. They just didn't feel like I'm like that before a race. I don't want to eat. I'm just, this is the worst thing for me to do. But I guess this gives you the munchies. And
I'm going to circle back to what you just said about 10 minutes ago, to 15, John. Yeah. John, it's just the 5K. You really don't need to eat before.
Yeah.
It's just
try to argue that point with people though.
It's just a sprint. Sorry. For me, it's an hour and 15 minutes. I don't need to eat before or during that event. But if I'm doing a half Ironman or if I'm doing a marathon, it's going to take me 4 hours. I'm going to need to do something. Mm-hmm. And if I'm doing a half Ironman where I'm going to be out there 5+ hours, I'm going to need something. I'm not saying I need to eat a whole pizza, but I'm going to need something beforehand and probably something, transition 1 onto the bike or on the bike, you know what I mean? Because by the time you get to transition 2, you really aren't going to be able to even get it processed in the next.
It's not going to make a difference.
At that point, it's the ship has sailed, Yeah. But 2.5 hours or less kind of like is my personal, like, I don't need anything, you know what I mean?
Yeah, but my thing on a run, if it's a run, anything under a 10K, I don't take anything. I don't even bring water. Mm-hmm. Because I know if there's going to be, unless it's like my own, a training run, then I'm drinking water.
Yeah.
But if it's a race, I know there's water on the course. I'm not carrying anything.
Yep.
But I know people that'll suck down 2 water bottles during a 10K.
Well,
if that you feel like you need that, that's fine. But
personally, I think it would be slosh around in my stomach.
And that's even a little sip sometimes sloshes around my stomach. That's why I don't like doing it. And so what were we saying? Oh, about the
weed. And we had talked off topic and where or off mic or way, but a week ago, whatever. And you had asked like when I say my thoughts on some of that. And it's so funny when I say I sit completely so far on both sides of the fence that I don't even know how I could have 2 opposing opinions in the same thing. And that is like socially, I don't really care. And that being said is if people want it legalized and you want to do it, fine. But I'm very much like I follow the law, like everything, And that being said, is like it irks me when I walk up the street and I see somebody parked in a no parking zone and they don't have a ticket or in a loading or just like things like that just irk me because I'm like you're blatantly breaking the law or what? And I guess maybe I don't want to say jealousy because once again it's parking. There's a guy, he drives a Lincoln Navigator. He's got the money. Parking in my town is not expensive. It's $0.25 like for 2 hours or something. Okay. We're like Mayberry. Okay. And the fine is $1. Okay. But he parks in front of this old warehouse where there's a loading bay. So it's not metered. It's not yellow striped. You drive a Lincoln Navigator and you park, you drive a $75,000 vehicle and you park in a space because you don't have to pay $0.25. Like that just irks me so much.
Well, that's how he afforded the car.
I guess so, but that's where I circle back to is like when I say the letter of the law, you and I are back and forth on some of it. And my take on it is like, it comes down to, is this cheating? And I find it funny to say it's illegal, but it's not
illegal everywhere.
But I'm just saying,
that was my point.
Yeah. But what I'm saying is in a state where it is illegal, it's illegal. But if the race rules don't say you can't do this, then whatever, because it's not cheating, but if the race rules say, and I'll just take a triathlon as an example, you're governed by USAT, and I'm sure if you go through and read the USAT, it talks about, they can test you for this, and you know what I mean? They can test you for stuff. Okay. But if it's not one of the banned, you're not allowed to have it substances, you know what I mean? Ibuprofen's a prime example. Okay. So you can take a crap ton of ibuprofen and have a similar effect to if you go out and smoke some weed. Are they going to ban, why would you allow that and not this? You know what I mean? Unless it specifically says you're not allowed to have illegal drugs and alcohol or whatever in your system. If it's in the rules, then it's cheating or breaking the rules. But if it's not in the rules, then that's when I say an oversight on the race directors or whatever. Right. And you can't penalize somebody if it's not in the rules.
Yeah, and to not, go off on that. But, I agree with you on that. That if it's illegal, it's illegal. Mm-hmm. You shouldn't have it in your system. But as far as cheating, I think people, like I posted online and a couple of people said that's cheating. Well, if it's not against the rules, it's not cheating. Mm-hmm. So you're letting your personal view on that come into play, on the use of marijuana, because you wouldn't have any problem with somebody getting drunk off their ass the night before, right?
Right.
That's not, so why would you, that, and that's where I start coming into it. But my personal feeling, and we've talked about what it is on marijuana, that I don't. Well, we won't get into that, but but if it's illegal in the state of Florida, then it's illegal.
Yep.
If it's illegal in Pennsylvania, it's illegal. If you're in Colorado, it's not illegal.
Right.
Have at it.
Yep.
The issue, and you brought up the ibuprofen, is like if you get the same effect from ibuprofen as marijuana, how is it cheating with marijuana and not with ibuprofen if they're both legal in that state?
Then it's not.
It's not illegal, and it's not cheating.
Correct. There's the difference. Once again, it's semantics, but illegal is different than cheating. Cheating is what the race sets out, or the governing body of the rules. That's just where I was.
And honestly, and I don't know if they test for that. I don't see it as a performance enhancing drug.
No, I agree.
I would think it'd be the opposite. to me.
From everything you hear or see in every movie, you'd think it's the opposite. You're just going to, it would decrease performance.
As a child of the 70s, the last thing I was going to do was go run 100 miles after, using that.
Depends on what the White Castle is.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Because, I'd make it as far as the first Crystal Burgers, which is White Castle down here. So that's what we were talking about, I guess, is that some people are saying that there are some articles out there that are saying that the use of marijuana to combat anxiety, race anxiety, is out there. But personal feelings, I think, what's come across is that if it's not illegal, it's fine.
Yeah,
I don't see it as a performance enhancer.
I don't either. No.
So I don't get that argument. I will argue that it's not a performance enhancer any more than any other drug is, that you can use to anti-inflammatory or whatever, as long as it's not, it comes down to a legality of it.
Yeah.
To us. And I think we're both agreeing on that. So.
And this would be a prime, because I don't know what else we're going to get into, but I want to interject. This isn't as much of a digression as it sounds like. If you're not a listener of Vinny Torderich's podcast, go back and listen to episode 1036. He has I think, fantastic interview discussion. I don't know how you want to say it, with Dr. Drew. And part of what they're discussing are the title of it's Drugs and Fat with Dr. Drew. And they are discussing this, not saying the weed thing, but it's talking, and Vinny and him get into kids today being diagnosed ADHD, being prescribed Adderall. Some kids are taking Adderall, some kids are, because of that, and some kids are just taking it to take it. And is it cheating in your classes? Because it is proven to focus and help you study. So if kid A has it prescribed and kid B doesn't have it prescribed, is it cheating if one or both or and either of them take it in academics to help enhance that enhance their grades and so forth? That is
and that can be applied to the NFL. They had that issue last year that some athletes were being getting fined and getting suspended for games because they had Adderall in their system, and other players, because they had a prescription for it, were allowed to use it. Mm-hmm. So if it's having the same effect on both of us, why are you allowed to use it and I'm not?
Yep. And that's where I'm just saying, I think we just hashed it out a little bit, but I think it's a great, and whenever we have a resource like this and I can point you guys directly to it, I want to point you to it. Right. Go back and listen to that for a little bit more in depth. From when I say more knowledgeable, I mean, he's a doctor and he has very, I'm going to say scientific good things, good. I don't want to say data, but he describes things very well and gives you a different perspective from a medical professional's point of view.
Yeah. And right. And we're going to try to do that more often if we find we tend to kind of hear things like that, and then we forget to send you guys to other resources. But that's a good one. We're going to try to do better at that in the future. Yeah. If we hear something on another, because we all listen to other shows. And if you guys hear something that on another show that you think we need to listen to or that we haven't picked up on, let us know. And we'll go listen to it.
Yeah. Do you want to do a few minutes on the documentary we watched, John? I think, really, I think it stands alone for itself, and I think we can go through it in just a minute or two and tell people I think they should go see it.
Yeah. I watched it a while ago. It came up on Vinny Torderich's podcast, actually a couple of days after I watched it.
Yep.
So it was kind of interesting that he had picked up on it too. Now I'm going to forget the name of it. It's called
Obesity, the Postmortem.
The Postmortem. It's on Netflix. And what they did was these two doctors, they get a cadaver that's actually from California. These are English doctors, so it was a BBC show, and they kind of do an autopsy, a real autopsy on this cadaver of an overweight woman, and just for if you can stomach things like that, because they show everything, as you know, as you saw, it's very interesting to see how pervasive
Can I interject? And I don't want to sound negative when I say this, so please, everyone, forgive parts of what I'm about to say, but you see where I'm going with it. I forget what they said the woman weighed, because they said something stone. I think it might have been 17 stone. I don't know. Yeah. As soon as they said it, I literally went to my phone and I put in went to Google Calculate to translate to see. Yeah. Because, and it could just be the photography, the way they're filming it. And once again, this is I don't want to say live person. This is a dead person, but a real person laying on the table naked. Okay. Yeah. She looks really big. I was anticipating them saying this was like a 400-pound woman or something.
She was like 250, right?
237 is what is the math that I came up with. Okay. Yeah, and give or take a little bit. And I think they gave her height. They didn't give her name or anything, but I think she was about 5'5", 230 something, which in today's society isn't that far out of the realm.
Yeah, and that's right in there.
And that being said is, like, when I say it this way, like, forgive me when I say, like, I field dressed some animals in my life, and so I'm not too squeamish. I was a little squeamish when they started cutting into her, mostly because, like, it hits me like, this is a person. This is a real person they're cutting into, and almost like, oh, that's going to hurt. It, like, took me a second to remember, she's dead. She's not going to be feeling this, But as they were cutting through, and like, when I say it's kind of, it really – you got to watch it. It's one of those, it's you got to be there. You got to watch it. It's only an hour. Okay. And it's, just seeing the literally when they cut her open and the fat, and when I say the fat, it's like Post-it note yellow, and it, just seeing the thickness of it through.
It's jarring.
Yeah. I could not believe it, because I'm like, I bet I know people that are bigger than that, you know what I mean? And, like in my town, you know what I mean? I'm sitting here thinking like, yeah, like what would they now? It's just, knowing that I was bigger than that, like substantially bigger than that at one point. Mm-hmm. It's just, I don't know. I don't want to get cut open to see what I look like now, but just to see that it's something.
Yeah. What got me about it was I kind of expected, because I used to watch, there used to be a thing on the Learning Channel every night about operations, so they would show different operations all the time. So I've seen this before, the yellow, but the thing that got me was I expected to see it around the belly, when they cut into the belly. I expected to see that yellow. What it got me was when they got into the feet and the legs, and you saw it there too. That was surprising to me. Mm-hmm. I didn't expect that. It was just all over. And that's what I mean by how pervasive the fat was. It's like, and she wasn't that old. She was in her 60s, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. The woman. And, it was, a little bit jarring, a little bit surprising. I think just for, educational purposes, it's a good thing to look at. And, just to watch it and just to get an understanding of how, like, if you're overweight and you have a big belly like I do, it's not just in the belly. Mm-hmm. And it's that fat, and it's not the fat that you can like jiggle on the outside of your skin. It's that fat that is deep down inside around your organs that's going to get you.
Yeah, I mean, they do it, and when I say it's a legitimate autopsy, they remove, heart, lungs, they remove, they tell you this section is called this, we're taking this out, and you can just see, and that being said, it's funny, like some of the stuff I was like, oh my gosh, look at that, and then they said, well, this is perfectly normal, and like, wow, really? And then and then
the liver, they did that with the liver.
Yeah, and then the very next thing, they're like, and then like they're literally cutting away layer after layer after layer to finally get to it, and they're like, that's not normal. So
it's not normal. Yeah. Her heart it had a layer of fat around it, but her heart, for the most part, I think was okay, right?
Incorrect. Like, her heart, there wasn't as much fat around her heart and pericardium and so forth. But what they were explaining, because he was like touching it and so forth, it was thinned out because she had high blood pressure. So they were showing the deterioration of like I'm not saying paper thin, but you see like when he describes how thick it should be, and then this wall should be this thick and so forth, just seeing the deterioration that the stress that put on the remainder. And what got me, and forgive me, you guys will see it if you watch it. If you don't, I'm sorry, but he literally, like, you can't tell because you're not touching them, but he's touching the lungs, and he says, okay, he could just, once he's a mortician or a doctor, he says she had congestive heart failure. She's had heart failure because, and he was like wringing liquid out of her lungs, and that was just a cause of overweight, overwork the heart, pushing that fluid that she couldn't clear. And I don't know.
Yeah, that's right. So so we've given you 2 recommendations today. We've given you the movie, and we've given you the book, The Brave Athlete. So
3, if you want to go listen to that episode of Vinny's 1036. Sorry, 1036.
3 recommendations. So we have anything else tonight?
Nope, that'd be it. That's all I got on the list.
So,
just some random things that are non-time sensitive that I can mention 2 months from now. So I will.
Okay. Yeah, right. So this will post hopefully on May 14th. God, that's a month from now. So
we got a lot of good stuff in the next month.
Yeah, we got some good stuff coming up, especially next week. We got a good guest next week that everybody will be happy to hear from.
Or a month ago, depending on when you listen to this.
Yeah, or a month ago, right? But so episode 118, should be a good one. As usual, look for teamE4E on all the social media sites. The Facebook group is now an open site. We're going to see if that helps us with our membership numbers a little bit. Instagram is teamE4E, Twitter's teamE4E, Facebook group teamE4E. Everything's teamE4E. If you go to Zazzle.com, Zazzle, look for teamE4E. There's some gear out there you can get, shirts, a couple of hoodies, mugs. Please show your support if you can. And anything else till next time, Rob?
Leave us a review if you haven't. You didn't catch if you said it or not, John. So if you didn't leave us a review anywhere, please go out and do so, and or share this episode or whatever your favorite one is with friend, family, anyone who you think is going to get some value from it. So that way we can reach as many people as we can.
All right, and until then, we'll see you on the other side.
See you.
Thanks for listening to the Endurance for Everyone podcast. If you have comments or questions for the show, send an email to teamE4E@enduranceforeveryone.com. And remember, swim calm, bike strong, and run steady.